Hey guys, welcome to the MC Anime Podcast. We cover anime, geek culture, Japanese aesthetics, and Asian studies. We are a multi-fandom podcast, and you can expect to hear topics in your favorite hobby or fandom activity potentially. You can find MC Anime on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Also, please check out mcanimepodcast.com, our website. Furthermore, stay tuned in for another episode.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of MC Anime Podcast. MC here, and today we have two special guests with us. We have Crystal and we have Emerald. How are you guys doing today?
Doing okay, just a little sore today.
We're at a great 7 degree. A bit exhausted from work, but I expect that from Mondays.
True. Before we get to today's episode, you can find us at podcast directors near you, like Apple and Google. We also just launched YouTube. We also at www.mcanimepodcast.com, and we also have Patreon blog MC Anime where you can do crowdfunding and support us, and YouTube just launched, so go check us out and download the episode and enjoy it. Further ado, where can they find you on social media? Crystal and Emerald, what you guys do, and what do you like to gain from this?
Well, I do YouTube videos, I do reactions, I do gaming, I do Minecraft gaming. I also do collaboration with friends.
As for me, I am an online artist. You can find me on Twitter. I'm fairly active on Twitter at Shapeshift16. Uppercase the first S. You can also find me on YouTube, though I am less frequent with uploads there. I've done one collaboration with Emerald up to this point.
Okay, so further ado, today's episode is going to be original characters and their charm. When we think about original characters, we think of characters that are unique to the person who designed that character. That character can come out in many different ways. You can roleplay as the character, stream as that virtual avatar or character on social media. It also gives you a different name and a different outlook when you introduce yourself. Also, when you have original characters, one game that comes to mind is D&D. You make a game, put your character template in, now you have a character designed just to play that game. But there's also other applications that you can actually use original characters outside of the different norms. For example, if you're a furry, you can get a registered as original character and get a trademark with that character. So there is some legal protections as well to maybe getting a trademark original character. But what is your perception of original characters, Crystal and Emerald?
Well, I think original character is like, something that represents who we are in the inside.
I can agree. As my original character, I had been making the design ever since 2016. It's been a part. I would say it's been a part of me since even before then. So I would argue original characters are our chance to put our creativity and a part of ourselves into the world as who we are.
Can you tell the audience how you created your original characters?
Well, I started out on this thing called Cat Maker, but then a friend of mine named Reality Check improved it a little bit.
I came up with the design of my OC, which is an Olive pup, which a Husky Corgi mixed puppy with alicorn features. She was initially a regular puppy before she gained the Pegasus wings, and then she gained the horn. Overall, I started tweaking the design in 2018 and started doing official commissions of more professional looks for Crystal within 2020. So I'll say the pandemic was helpful for me on that.
Okay. So tell the audience the background of each character, Crystal and then Emerald.
About to say, if you must, and I'm going to go first. I have two that I work with. I have Shapeshifter Colden. Her nickname is Crystal, and she is a 423-year-old winter spirit with the appearance of a little puppy. Don't let her small size fool you. She's capable of freezing you to death if she is angered. And my other one is Miss Demon Shifter Colton, otherwise known as Blood Ruby. She is a shadowy demon sealed within the puppy sometime before she became a spirit. She's a protective demon of her hosts, and oftentimes will not threaten to use shadow magic against foes.
Interesting.
How about you, Emerald?
Okay, so my OC, or my character, is a cat-like creature, but he's called 3 names: a spirit, a demon, or a yokai. He has 2 tails, and he's 1,000 years old.
So, there is one place you can get inspiration for a character. If you want to create an OC and trademark it as your own character, in a sense.
Okay. Well, what inspired me to make my character is, well, I like cats, but I also heard about this creature called a tanuki, a fox with extra tails. So I combined the two in the form of a character that represents the freedom I wish.
Most of the inspiration I had for Crystal was my own imagination and the childlike wonder. I'd always insert myself in shows I watch as a small dog. So that's it. The bigger influence, of course, is why Crystal was an owl pup. I would go with My Little Pony.
Okay. So you take inspiration from My Little Pony and a dog persona in a spirit form to communicate as original character. Emerald, you take cat persona with multiple tails and then take it from there and also as a spirit as well?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Both of you are spirits, so why have a spiritual entity as a basis for original character?
It represents freedom for me.
It just made a lot more sense for Crystal in terms of what she was capable of and why she's lived for so long.
Okay. So when you have a spirit that represents freedom, Emerald, what are the feelings that are encapsulated into the freedom? Like, how do you explain that to the audience?
Well, I see fun, some pain sometimes, the beauty of the world, the places I dreamed to visit someday.
Okay. So you represent freedom as a way of being independent, doing your things on your own, going out in the world and see what it is.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Because some people identify freedom as like a symbol. It's a destination that you can reach at where you feel the most content. Do you agree?
Yep.
So Crystal, what is the freedom of your original character that you like?
I would say the freedom in the design, allowing for more OC designs to not just be standard pony designs in the MLP fan base. It's rare for a canine OC to exist in this side of the fan base. I'd list examples, but I can't think of that many. So I feel like me being here makes a very prominent statement. You can have a non-pony OC and still be just as unique.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Thank you.
So Emma, what is an interesting story in creating your original character that you want to tell the audience about?
Me? Well, to be honest, I had no idea what I wanted to be at first. So, I took inspiration from a tanuki and also the cat, like I said before. You know, being something unique to fit into the world.
Okay, so the feeling of being unique and having uniqueness is being separate from other people, also distinguishing yourself enough in the fan base as an original character, you can actually strive and take hold in the new project or character that you created for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. What is one aspect of you, Crystal, that is unique? Not just design as dog, but like unique in the fandom of original characters.
With that, I can easily plug in what I do on my Twitter. I don't just use Crystal and Blood Ruby on my Twitter. No. They have other characters to bounce off of on that account. And most of them are OC hybrids. Because they're not a full species, they're half of a species. So technically, I just represent how really any hybrid can exist nowadays. In fact, my OC being a hybrid inspired one other person to do a puppy hybrid in the fan base.
Okay. So, what we call a hybrid, it's what we kind of in the business call chimera. Instead, it's a chimera of two or more species, or is it just two?
In terms of our friend, which I'm going to call Selector for the time being, they
Okay.
picked two species. They picked a Dalmatian changeling puppy.
Okay. So, when people create an original character based on several actual attributes of animals or other mythical personas, what does that create in the OC community?
Endless possibilities. I mean, you can do 2, you can do 3. If you want to be that kind of person, you could do 4. I mean, some of the more common OC hybrids you can pick from, like a griffin or a hippogriff, you can blend together real-life animals together to make tons of combinations.
Yeah, I agree with her.
What's your experience of a chimera in the community, Mold?
Well, it's pretty obvious. What makes me a chimera is kind of the fact that I'm a cat and also a spirit.
Wouldn't that be just
But-
a cat in a spirit form? Let's say a chimera.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. So, you mentioned a collaboration. What does a collaboration between Crystal and Emerald look like?
Well,
Considering we're in the process of melding our characters' backstories, I'd say the collaboration is most likely to be kind of interesting as two spirits interact.
yeah, it kind of has something in common with me and Crystal.
Alright, so sharing that bond of being a spirit with both personas of each perspective character gives you the choice of not only adding original details to it, but how you present yourself as that spirit.
I think it shows one thing that both Emerald and Crystal could possibly learn. They technically are not alone out in the world. They may be spirits and not being able to be seen by most mortal men or mortal women, but they at least know that they have each other and that they are friends. So they're not lonely anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Not to mention, we barely see movies that have spirits in them. Like, for example, MLP doesn't have any spirits in them, except for Discord.
I don't think it counts.
Yeah, I don't think Discord counts.
And my spiritual influence was actually the 2012 DreamWorks film Rise of the Guardian. Underrated gem. Underrated gem. It's a good film.
Well, you know,
So many.
either the Guardians is the legendary figures, so are you trying to base your OC on a legendary figure?
More of I based the winter spirit aspect off of Jack Frost because I liked the character and obviously found his powers of ice and snow to be really fascinating.
Eh.
I didn't really base my character on anything.
I mean, you know, there's another character with ice powers. It's the Ice King from Adventure Time.
Yeah,
What? Thank
Yeah.
you for the ideas.
also
I got
there,
ideas to do after this podcast is over.
there is also the Snow Queen, too.
True.
Don't tell me you're talking about Elsa.
It's not the Snow
no.
Queen, that's the Ice Queen.
Oh, never mind.
So yeah, there's like different inspirations that you can take from, just like, you know, Crystal. She has a form that's based on Winter, Jack Frost, Rise of the Guardians. We have a spear with two tails, a Tukiyuki. So it really goes to show you that the inspiration is vast, and you can take it from anywhere that you take the inspiration from, including source material, concept art, an idea that you have in a conversation, and any other respective property or conversation or things in life to bring that source of inspiration to the character that makes it so unique to the person designing the character itself.
Yeah.
I can't help but agree to that. Makes the most sense.
Yep, I agree.
So what aspects of a collaboration do you need to take into account if you're going to do a collaboration with someone else who has an original character?
I say do some research on their character before you do anything with this collaboration. Get an idea as to how they would react to situations. Maybe you do a little research. Maybe find out maybe ask about a backstory. Ask how they would possibly react to seeing your original character. Getting the basic information of how the characters will interact is probably the most important part before you even think of writing anything down.
Exactly. Speaking of backstories, we should really get to that part, don't you think?
I've got it pinned into this. I got to ping a Google Docs in.
Well, if you two want, I can explain the backstory of this character.
Go ahead.
So, my OC was once a normal cat at first, but a horrible plague happened. His master comforted the creature on his final moments. You can kind of guess what happened next.
Yep.
But, years later, a necromancer came out of nowhere, performing a spell. He used the hair sample of a tiger, a broken horn from a unicorn, and a crystal. He performed the ritual, and so far, the spell worked, but not in the way he expected. The necromancer called me a slave, a D word, and I really did not like that word. So you can kind of guess the necromancer didn't have a pleasant end.
So, being classified as a demon, what does that do for the original character?
Well, it's like glass hitting you in the heart, triggering your anger side.
Necromancer is interesting because you already died, brought back to life, and then the mixed patch of a tiger DNA somehow is back in the spirit form and all messed up. Do you think that the necromancer didn't have enough power to summon you and failed along the way?
Apparently so.
Short backstory, Crystal.
I'll gladly tell it. I have read that her memory is blurry due to the effects of having demon shifter or blood ruby sealed within her mortal body before she is ultimately killed when she accidentally runs out into a frozen lake by a mob. This was the 1600s, after all. She obviously had behaviors that were similar to something connected to a witch at the time. And thus she ends up succumbing to the lake's frozen waters. And she's discovered by Mother Nature, who ends up finding her and turning her into one of her trusted winter spirits. It's where she gets the powers from, and also where she gets a place where she calls home for 400 years before she finds Equestria.
So you basically took your persona based on Jack Frost getting stuck in the lake, stuck in the water.
I rest my case. I didn't want to do that, but then I realized too easy to not do frozen water as the cause of death.
So what is the purpose of it being a spirit? Emerald's purpose was the necromancy and the failed summoning.
Crystal, she's a seasonal spirit. She has a job to do according to Mother Nature. She helps maintain winter in a certain area, her territory, if you want to say. If any spirits were to travel her territory and mess up the cycle, she has to fight them, and she has to make sure they know, hey, it's my time. You don't come here yet.
Okay. Oh, I do have a question.
She has a job.
True. A job is to be a protector of the season that she's associated with. Emerald, what is a perfect example of you writing your character in extended stories?
Well, after he took care of the necromancer, his body started to change. His ears were a different color, he grown 2 tails, and he became very strong. He'd been traveling for years finding a new home. He tried to settle down on this empire where creatures pretty much worship the wealth, but they became greedy over it.
Okay.
They saw me as a unique creature, and so far, they tried to hand me over to their emperor that wanted to turn me into a rug. I wouldn't stand for it, so I cursed him, consumed the souls of everyone in that empire, and took the form of a terrifying beast, a 9-tailed beast.
A 9-tailed, like the Kitsune 9 tails?
That was my first thought. I thought of a 9-tailed fox when I saw his tails.
So,
yeah.
Why does it take the 9 tails specifically? It only has 2 tails in its base form. What's the connection?
Well, 2 tails is basically the souls he has. The souls of his own. The soul of himself and the soul of the necromancer. But the 9 tails represents a whole bunch of souls he consumes. He destroyed the empire and wiped out thousands of great armies. But the creature was defeated and I transformed back.
Okay.
So far, my journey has just begun. I travel more, and then, well, as centuries have passed, I met Crystal.
Okay. But what are some of the feats of Crystal?
In terms of collaboration?
Just feats in general. We just saw Emerald's feet. What's some of your feet?
Well, her first winter was the first winter she got to control under Mother Nature's watch was pretty bad. Ended up in a pretty bad blizzard. Though I would have to say a very good accomplishment that can take a short amount of time to explain is her learning to tame the demonic entity known as Blood Ruby. She was a rather vicious creature locked within Crystal after all. But it took a while for them to come to an even ground in understanding. Nowadays, you could see them as sisters more than a demon and their host.
See. So, how you describe the process of the charm of the original character? What's the charm of each respective Emerald and Crystal that makes them who they are, instead of what they're just designed off of?
Crystal, would you like to explain?
I will probably be going first for this one. I would say the charm that comes from Crystal and Blood Ruby, other than the sibling bond, I would argue it's possibly how they are presented. They're presented in an art style they're presented in an adorable art style, which helps them look cute and thus attracts more people to them. It's that charm. It's the literal form of charm, something being attractive or just adorable. And they come for a kind puppy with their protective shadow demon. What more to come for?
Well, my charm? Well, I guess it's the fact that he has, a connection to brothers sometimes. At first, he was the odd one out, but 3 friends came together and we became brothers ever since then. Of course, the funniest part is, for a guy that has logic in his name, doesn't mean he's always logical.
See. So instead of the emerald, the logic behind being an emerald, it's this logic in general.
Basically, yeah.
See. So Crystal.
Because Emerald's not the only friend we have who has an ironic name for the original character. Shall I mention Mr. Reality Check?
Yeah, they need a reality check. That's pretty much it.
So, continue.
So, if you're Crystal the Shapeshifter, how does that come into play in your character?
The shapeshifter part?
Yes.
Well, I actually did like Emerald. I did do some research on some real-life urban legends. The more common ones I did was the treatment of witches and werewolves in the 1600s. But I also took inspiration from many of the shape-shifting urban legends that exist in America. A more common one that was used was Native American depictions of shapeshifters, like a skinwalker, for example.
Okay. But typically a skinwalker in the legend take on the actual skin of the entity they're trying to shapeshift as.
Yep, it was one of them. Another one I also looked up in connection to Crystal and Blood Ruby is a Mexican urban legend about a demonic dog. It is known to attack those who are unfaithful in God, but if they are faithful in God, then a white counterpart will come and will protect them from the demonic creature.
How does shapeshift?
I have to remember the name of that.
How does shapeshifting in winter come into play? What's the connection?
Well, it actually adds to it actually would be based off Crystal's personality. If you were to get to know Crystal, she actually could act shy. Most shapeshifting entities in pop culture, at least, some of them have an era of being rather keeping to themselves. Crystal sometimes will do that. Sometimes not mentioning everything about herself to those she knows. That and I found out shapeshifters love lies and chaos, and I literally have used that as a punching line for about 3 years now because of the stupidity of humanity.
So Emerald, when I think back and you have the different souls that you consume, isn't it kind of ironic that the logic of necromancy with your soul absorption, or I call pains in transformation by eating consumption of souls, isn't that kind of ironic?
Apparently so. I take different forms to, hide from creatures that would, hunt me down.
So the different forms, can you elaborate what they are? Like, they have different tailored forms, or is it more like a more fence form, like the axis, X and Y, attack and defense.
Basically, yeah.
What's some of that forms? Can you elaborate on?
Well, I take 3 forms. The first form is, well, the way you see me right now. The second form is where I grow 9 tails and use them for, ravel techniques.
Mm-hmm.
What the third
But
form?
the last form is what?
What the third form?
Yeah, the third form is his spirit form, where he turns full spirit, so basically no one can hurt him. Like if they lay a punch on him, they just go straight through him.
Oh, so you have 2 different forms that take physical manifestations?
Basically, yeah.
Oh. What was the idea of giving the spirit a shape and physical form? Where did that come from?
It comes from his origins.
Okay. How did that manifest into your design of the character having a spirit to physical form? Did it access previous forms that it was alive? Did it gain that power after being in spirit form?
I've got those same questions. You read my mind.
Basically, he got that form. He got these forms the day he consumed the souls of the Empire. The more souls he gains, the more abilities he gains. The stronger he gets.
So he consumed 2 souls, or did he consume more?
Well, one tail is the soul he has. Basically, his own soul. The other tail is the necromancer's soul.
Then how about the 9 tails?
The 9 tails is the souls of everyone I consumed in the Empire.
So is that 7? Is that more than 7?
Well,
Is
That
it 7
depends.
additional souls that you consumed? Or is it like more than
Yep.
just the 7? You just stopped at 9.
Well, I stopped at 9 because consuming souls can be dangerous for me because consuming too much can make me uncontrollable and aggressive.
Okay. So how does the cooperation in meeting Crystal come in Emerald's backstory?
Well, I guess I would be surprised at first because it'd be the first time I've seen a spirit like myself.
And Crystal being a dog spirit means she would react to it like a dog normally would. Essentially barking at Emerald for the first time.
You taken back by Emerald?
I would certainly have been she would have certainly been shocked by the 2 tails, along with the tiger ears. But then again, she realizes, oh, this is another spirit like myself. It just means that I'm not the only animal spirit.
How about your Emerald? What was your reaction?
Well, I was getting ready to... Well, my reaction would be, well, a jump sort of thing. A normal thing that a cat would do. I would probably get ready to attack, but judging by the scent, I knew she was a spirit like myself.
Okay. So from that continuation of the collaboration, when you meet each other in the story, how does you 2 interact in each other's story that is like the continued version of your backstory?
We're considered you are considered good friends when we hang out. Any chance our OCs get a chance to hang out, we often will be sparking up a conversation. Anything really, any topic.
Yeah, I was going to say this. I agree.
So I have to be wary about if I summon Blood Ruby into the conversation, because Emerald gets triggered by the word demon after all, and Blood Ruby is actually a certified demon. She's a low class one, but still.
Isn't Emerald a demon anyway?
That's like, I'm about to say, it's like another content creator's OC. Yes, Lightning Bliss is small, but she hates being called that.
But if you bring Blood Ruby up, doesn't that... But you're not calling Emerald a demon, you're just bringing up the subject of a demon.
Or she's coming into the conversation.
But even if... Okay, so if Blood Ruby comes into conversation, you just don't mention demon. Emerald knows that
I
she's
try
a
not to.
demon, you just don't mention it.
Yep.
How is your reaction to Blood Ruby, Emerald?
Well, I tried to ignore it, but when she brings up the word, my eyes start glowing red as my anger tried to take over. But I try to hold back.
So her mentioning Blood Ruby triggers you, or mentioning demon?
The word, yeah.
Oh, demon is pretty easy to
This is-
avoid, isn't it, in conversation?
Well, if they say it at me, that's when it happens.
If I curse you as a demon, how will you respond to that?
Well, my eyes would turn red, and I would probably get ready to attack.
Aha. See. original character will attack me, even though I'm not in the story itself.
And as Crystal would be scared, Blood would head to the ceiling with popcorn.
Yeah.
She loves entertainment that's fueled by stupid decisions.
Okay, so she feeds off negative energy.
She's a demon that's kind of come to the territory, unfortunately.
Okay, so where do you guys go to do the collaboration?
I'll say we're working on several collaborations with Crystal and Emerald as we speak. We've got a few we have one in pre-production, and we have a couple that are just ideas at the moment.
Yeah. One that has something in common with the both of us, and the other is our technically favorite MLP movie.
Okay. So what is the motto of each character? What do they represent, and how do they go about to spread that motto?
I'll go first. I'll go first. I think the fact that both our characters our characters' concepts never existed before we made the characters. Our character OZ, our character creature OCs. They would have probably never existed before we made them. So most likely we show that yes, you technically can make whatever character you want on the internet. It's just a matter of if you can make it interesting enough that people will come back wanting more information about them.
Exactly.
Our OC designs may not be canon to any fan base yet. I'm holding MLP. If they can give a puppy wings, they can give a puppy a wings and a horn. But whether it happens or not, it means that we can keep this design as unique to us until it's made an official species by whatever fan base.
Oh, you, Emerald. What's the motto of your character, and how do they represent that motto?
Well, I'm probably going to relate that to a collaboration of me and... I'm going to relate it to a collaboration me and Crystal are working on. Basically, what goes to my character is, well, I have a little bit of Irish lore to me, a little bit. Like, my green eyes represents the Irish part.
Okay. How does that motto go into your character? Like, more than just the eyes?
I don't know. When you think about it, it's kind of what Crystal said. I agree with her.
So you don't go anything like Celtic traditions or anything like that? Because that's also Irish with the Celtic.
Oh boy. I'm not sure if I have those I don't think I have those sort of questions.
See. Okay. So with the green eyes and the Irish lore, is there any inspiration in Irish lore that you actually put in your backstory for the character?
Well, the transformation part, I get that from an Irish werewolf. According to legend, Irish werewolves were the protectors of Ireland ever since people tried to invade it.
So what is an aspect of original character that you feel very strong in continuing the practice of?
I would, at least with my OC, I'm exploring with branching out of the fan base that I'm normally in. I mean, an on again, off again idea I have is connecting her to an actual canon, an internet canon. Connecting her to the back rooms I did back in October.
I try my best to connect my character to the Inquestria world. He spends the most of the years in the Evergreen Forest.
Oh, so that's why you keep visiting my house.
Yeah, but at least I don't live there alone. I live with my special friend, Violet, and Crystal too.
Yep, I have a small house outside of Ponyville near the Evergreen Forest with my pet Pikachu Sparky, who is shiny, as well as Blood Ruby. And Crystal has a roommate named Glacier, who is a Pegasus.
Okay.
It's a long story.
How did Pegasus get in the picture?
Well, the Pegasus is actually it's my best friend's pony OC. I technically made it for her, but she came up with the color scheme and the idea of her being a Pegasus, her snowflake cutie mark, and even having two different colored eyes. She has a green and a purple eye. And Glacier is based off a nickname that I have for her online.
Okay. So, shall we continue?
Okay. If that's the case, how do you go about implementing different world building in the original character?
I was having them bounce off characters that already exist This can allow them a chance to develop as characters and even get to know other, and even get to expand how much they know about, well, what they're capable of.
Well, when you think about it, the first person I ever met in Equestria was Jack, and that was when, well, Pinkie Pie introduced us both. However, Pinkie Pie almost choked me to death, but it worked out in the end.
Okay. So, how you were to explain the process of scaling, how does it apply to each respective original character?
Taking into account what they've been through as an idea as to how to get into their perspective. An example of this is the fact that Crystal was a witness to some of the witch trials, and including her being a winter spirit, she actually is very much afraid of anything connected to fire. You so much have an ember near her, she's gonna turn white as a ghost.
She's
No pun
already
intended.
white as a ghost.
I said no pun intended.
But anyway, my character is more like an observer, a watcher of several time periods go by. He watches Equestria being built, and probably when he arrived, Equestria didn't even existed. But he watched it got built and growed, and that gave him time to learn about these creatures.
Interesting. How old is Emerald?
1,000 years. Basically a time of farmers, and basically people hunting them down.
Oh, okay. So, how would you describe the process in which you find communities for original characters?
That actually, I can explain how I found myself in the MOP universe rather easily. I did simple fan art of my character Crystal interacting with an owner of a well-known group of content creators in the MOP universe known as the Rift Cafe. I featured one of the makers of it, known as the Looney Turtle. He's a turtle. We don't question it. It's a Littlest Pet Shop thing, I think. But he ended up giving me the link to it, and that's actually how I was able to find several friends in the fan base and find a lot more people that honestly feels more like a fandom family now than a group of friends.
Yeah, of course, I joined the Rift Rocket ever since, I joined the Rift Cafe ever since, Traveling Arrow destroyed the Rift Generator. After that, I made a few friends, started a partnership. Not only I kind of left the Rift Cafe and worked with a few friends to create the Rift Rocket.
So you actually were like a founder of the Rift Rockets itself.
Well, they call me the co-founder since Robert created the server, but yeah.
I see that as the case. You both created, just like how in the Rift Cafe, it's not just the Looney Turtle, but it's also the voice of reason. These pony OCs have really weird names.
Yeah. Crystal the Shapeshifter and Emerald Logic is not a weird name.
Technically, it's Crystal Colden, but her full name is Shapeshifter Colden. You forgot her last name is Colton, which is a reference to her ice magic.
And Emerald Logic was the only name that came to me so far. Something that
and Blood Ruby came from someone from me and MC's anime club. It was a suggestion for a nickname for her.
See. Who said Blood Ruby again in the anime club?
I have to remember which one. I have to remember what her real name is. I can't think of it off the top of my head at the moment. She mentioned it on Discord when I asked the question back then, and it would take me a really long time to try to find where that was mentioned.
Well, with Discord, you can go back in the Discord server and actually look up. But anyway,
I might actually do that. I might do that right now.
Anyway, continue.
So, with the existence of the original characters coming together in the joint storyline that they have at this point, what is the future interaction between these characters going to look like?
Well, Torture Danger, which is a bat pony.
Yes.
He's the god monkey of the Rift Cafe, by the way.
Yep, and we dreamed of going on adventures someday. Not to mention doing great deeds, being a part of movie projects. I don't know. Some good stuff.
Our conversations can go on for hours talking about how our characters would interact in situations, especially when it comes to plot points that can be connected to the Rift Rocket's lore. We can go for hours.
So where do you think all this creativity comes from in the original characters themselves? It's something outside of you, or is it something that's in your life that's very influential?
I'd say mostly from experience, from the creativity that I got from my older sister. She also has an OC that I designed, that she technically designed herself, which is actually a pure white wolf. She got to have the cool one. I hold her accountable.
Well, if I gotta be honest, I get my inspirations from the beauty of the world I see around the window. Not to mention, I look at postcards of beautiful lands and old photos. But I also get some inspiration from old Ghibli movies, like Castle in the Sky, The Witches. The rest, I still can't remember, but they're old favorites.
Spirited Away?
Spirited Away? Yep, that's the one.
Spirited Away? That's a Ghibli film.
Okay.
Yep, that's...
A Neighbor Totoro, etc., etc. Alright. So we have a Studio Ghibli enthusiast who likes to implement that style into his character. And then we also have a dog lookalike from a wolf to a dog in Crystal. Interesting.
Nah, I'm not ashamed of what I have exposed myself to. I'm not even gonna get into the angle of Disney or anime that inspired me.
That's fine. So with that building block on the character, how do you think the process from creating the character to now has been part of the journey along the way?
Kind of rough one, that's for sure. Since for both me and Amber, I'm going to assume both of us had to make new character concepts, essentially from the ground up, based off of what we have been exposed to and what we used as inspiration. Especially when you realize that most of the time, it's actually more difficult to get something that would be considered unique out there. There's nothing really unique or original out there anymore. It's just something that's been inspired by another. It's all about how you use that inspiration. That depends on how it comes out.
Yeah, I agree with her.
Alright, so if I wanted to create an original character, based on what you know about MC Anime Podcast and the headphones and MC Anime, what are some ideas that can jumpstart an OC of MC Anime Podcast?
I would go to potentially some of your favorite anime as an idea for where to go to in terms of it. What do those fan bases do in terms of OCs? But then again, I'm also thinking about what I would do, and for me, I would look up the best. I would look up what Oni form would best suit you. But that's just me.
Emerald, anything to say?
Yeah, well, yeah, I would go with the same thing she said.
So, finding the embodiment of what the character represents is the first idea to establish the original character?
Yep.
How do you go about that to build your foundation so you can actually have a strong building block to build the character itself?
I think the best building block to have was I'm going to assume what we both did. Technically, for both of us, Crystal and Emerald are our personas. They are who we are online. So technically, they also carry a part of our personality. They have personality traits that match us, so that way they represent us much better online. That helps build a better foundation to help write the character and help make them more interesting in terms of it.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of The World of You. I don't know if you checked that movie yet, but it's pretty good. It allows you to go... It's a movie about where people go online and they turn into what they dream to be. Kind of like me and Crystal.
Okay. So, but in your daily life, experiencing that persona in the digital environment actually provides weight to the character and gives it substance and further develops the character even more?
Yes.
Yep.
What is one particular aspect that on the digital persona and the interaction of the digital persona online that has greatly influenced that character?
I would say any chance to have Crystal interact with another character. Whether it is in a casual sketch I post on Twitter or me doing a very long Twitter thread, which is a role play with sometimes one or multiple characters. Those experiences allow us to see how Crystal reacts to situations, especially when they are unpredictable if it's a role-playing thread. And it's how Crystal found her boyfriend.
Honestly, I agree with her. In fact, I met someone that's kind of like me, named Violet. It was a good relationship.
What's Violet like? What is Violet
Wait, what?
like as a persona?
She's a fellow cat. She's a fellow cat persona, and she has a very lovely cat persona design.
Yeah, the only difference is she's a dragon cat.
So, Crystal, or boyfriend, who's that?
That would be Mystic, a green unicorn that she interacted with in a roleplay back in I want to say it was either 2018 or 2019. It was sometime around there. She interacted with, and they even had their first date within their first
Sounds like a gender
roleplay.
bender.
Mystic is he.
No, it
Crystal
sounds
is a
like
she.
gender bender.
They have technically you can ship Crystal and Mystic. They are still an ongoing relationship.
See. So the building blocks to have any essential original character that I'm understanding is to understand the characteristics of the character, find a feature to have an attribute about them, expand on that attribute, and then once you expand on it, keep on expanding and trying to find what fits and doesn't. Maybe rebrand the character if need be.
I have a particular tale with the rebranding. I had initially not wanted Crystal to be a part of the Paw Patrol fan base because, well, she technically is a dog, and I used Paw Patrol as a baseline, but I didn't associate her with the franchise until I am belittled for her Paw Patrol design, trying to submit her into a roleplay. It was a Has-Been Hotel roleplay, and let's just say I'm not there. But did help me realize that maybe I should try to consider that, yes, she is a Paw Patrol OC as well as an MLP one.
Yeah, my OC prefers to be an MLP OC.
Okay.
Sometimes I picture it what it would look like as an anime.
Now I'm curious what Emma wants to grow up as a pony.
Oh, please elaborate.
That's bored. What do you mean?
Elaborate what you've been talking about, what you just said.
Well, I prefer my OC in the MLP universe. That's what I meant to say. But sometimes I picture what would my OC look like as an anime?
Yeah.
If you want to take your persona, put it into an actual different medium than what it is now.
Well, someone has tried that once. They gave it looked like the same, but it gave it a humanoid body. Let me see if I can pull it up, but yeah, I'm not sure if you guys can see it in the video or the screen.
Okay. That's interesting.
Here it is.
If we're going to go with experimenting within franchises, I have explored with Crystal. The most recent one I did was based off of Alvin and the Chipmunks and making her look like a chipmunk from the 80s incarnation.
See. So, Emma, do you look like a furry? That's kind of interesting.
I'm about to say, MC is kind of not wrong, but then again, I do like the design I do like how it looks. Well, technically, two-legged. I'm about to say, anthropomorphized cats do exist in the MLP universe, if the movie has any implication. So, this technically could still work for MLP.
Yeah, but I decided to stay like this.
True, but you're gonna. If you ever need to go to
I
a
agree.
human form, you can use this human form as another form of Emerald. Do you ever think about that?
You can join the club. You can join the club. Crystal has a crystal alicorn form. She has a winged wolf form. She's got a dragon form that is as an ice dragon, obviously. And I have I'm working on a changeling form for her as well.
See.
Well, if I ever do a collaboration with Dr. Wolf, I might think about it.
Which Dr. Wolf is the other canine content creator in our side of the Rift Rocket. He's an well, depending on which video you're watching, depends on whether he's a two-legged or four-legged wolf. But regardless, he's a wolf.
He's an anamorphic wolf.
Yes.
The only difference is he's not a spirit like me and Crystal.
Also correct. But he has the ability to communicate with ponies and is a therapist in the world of Equestria, helping ponies with their problems. And his videos are proven to be very helpful when talking about serious topics like that.
Yeah. I wonder how he would react watching this.
We're giving him free promotion.
Oh, you can always send a link to him and have that be the testament.
Yes, but say he's on. I'm about to say I do follow him on Twitter. I'll send it to him there if his DMs are open.
So let's wrap this up into like a convincing argument. What is each perspective about original characters you want to give to the audience in the discussion, and how original characters and the charm apply to you?
Well, let your ideas run wild. Express how you feel. Design your character the way you are.
Also know when to put boundaries on the character. You can't have any Mary or Gary Sues running around now, can't we? Exploring with the characters, exploring with what you could put as character limitations, such as fears, fears, limitations in power. It can also go a long way and can help you realize that, yes, these can be obstacles that your character has to overcome in order to get stronger.
Exactly.
And thus, they become better characters after the long run.
If you want to basically, if you wanted to design an original character, take inspiration of where you find that to be the character you want to be, emulate that feeling in the persona environment, take it in the form of an online chat or community where you are that character, and basically your digital persona is that character. Because not only do you practice what the character is, but you actually like brand the character as yourself. And when you design the character, take a part of yourself, put it to the character, as any story, any narrator or author says. Take a bit of yourself, put it into the story that you create, then try to characterize from that point perspective.
Yeah, but what you guys said really gave me an inspiration. Like, how come people can't make a movie about, people going online, and online they take the form of their characters, like an animal form?
Right, that isn't a concept in Hollywood already.
Well, it kind of sounds like a good idea. But anyway, guys, we wish you good luck.
And if anyone has any questions regarding OCs, well, you can find, my DM is open on Twitter, and I might try to answer any questions someone has.
Yep, and you can find me on YouTube. My channel is called the MLP Unplug.
What's your Twitter, Crystal?
My Twitter is @S Shapeshift16.
Pretty simple. You heard it from the Crystal the dog and Emerald the cat. They're coming from you as being Crystal Shapeshifter Colton and Emerald Logic. Thank you for being here. I like the concept of original characters and the charm. This concludes MC Anime Podcast. And with that, this is a wrap. Bye, guys.
Hey.
Hope you have a good
Bye, guys.
day.
This concludes another episode of MC Anime Podcast. MC Anime Podcast is available on podcast directories like Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. We also have our website at mcanimepodcast.com. If you want to directly support us, then follow Patreon blog MC Anime. Finally, if you want services for hire, then we're available on Fiverr for audio and video production, graphic design, idea consulting, and blog and article writing.